So Jack, where are we today?
We are in Lisbon, Portugal.
And what's all this then?
This is the second CambrianSV Bootcamp for developers.
Right. So everyone is here for a week.
Yep.
And what are they going to be doing?
We're going to be doing a lot of coding on individual projects, but there's so much to keep up with the recent Genesis upgrade. So there'll be a lot of knowledge sharing and dedicated thoughts about how does Genesis change what is possible to be built on Bitcoin.
And last time, in your first bootcamp, which was in Bali, the whole emphasis was on getting things actually built during the week. Do you have a sort of theme for this week?
Yeah, so this time, the theme of this event is about efficiency. It's about unbounded efficiency. That's what the protocol now allows because it's now scaled, but it's up to us, the developers building protocols and applications on top and providing minor services to make sure that we are intricately linked in the most efficient way possible so that our businesses ultimately, when they serve to end users, can be competitive with the internet era companies of the Googles and Facebooks and Amazons of the world. There's a lot of the concepts that I think people were ahead of themselves in propelling about what Bitcoin is possible. Now there's no more excuses, it really is possible.
After a good Portuguese dinner, it was time for the group of entrepreneurs and developers to share their hopes for the week ahead and for Bitcoin.
We've hit a new dispensation, right? The chapter's been turned, and so now we're opening up this next phase of this book. And so the question that I think that I ask of myself, and I think that I would love to pose to the rest of the community is, what can we each do inside of our own projects that we open ourselves up to a broader world?
I think we have a really unique opportunity right now to create real businesses. I think this was actually always the original opportunity, but I think that with the restoration of Genesis, unlimited scaling right now, there's like no reason not to just do this for real.
Value is not measured in terms of price. It's not measured in terms of, what is the equity of your company worth. It's measured in terms of how you change people's daily lives, how you change the way they live their lives and make it more fruitful. And I think we should all be conceiving of Bitcoin in that sort of way. And we can only do that if we all see ourselves as working for Bitcoin, Bitcoin the organism, Bitcoin the network.
Monday morning, and it's time for the work of the bootcamp to begin.
About 30 developers and entrepreneurs are getting together to try to work out how to integrate with each other's products and strengthen the Bitcoin SV ecosystem as a whole.
The morning begins with introductions of people and their projects. Darren Kellenschwaler's Baymail brings financial incentives to email. You can encourage people to read your email by attaching a small payment to it, for instance. But to make Baymail take off, Darren needs to work with other people here.
Integrating with these other products here, I mean, the response I've been getting from the guys here has just been brilliant. It's just a room full of the best and brightest developers in the BSV sort of space. I've had a few really high quality conversations with people that I had never met before. I didn't realize some of the devs that are behind the projects that I've heard about have come up with ideas that are just perfectly in line with my thinking. I'm like, yes, let's get together, let's actually make this happen this week and get something built. So it's been great.
So at the moment today, the whole internet is basically communist. And
For Mark Wilcox, Bitcoin SV is going to be the means of revolutionizing the internet as a whole by giving power over their data to individual users. Now, you were complaining that the internet is a big communist system. What did you mean by that, and how can that change?
today, companies in Silicon Valley, they'll get a bunch of venture capital, they'll build a whole product monopoly for themselves, then they'll force you to use their particular product. They won't share any data, they won't share any users, and they will kind of completely mask off the money that they're making from your particular piece of data.
Well, it's funny you should say that, because the big tech giants, to most people, are the absolute epitome of capitalism.
Well, they're within a capitalist system, right? But they're huge monopolist actors, and they're essentially taking value away from other people. But the systems that they're building and controlling for themselves are definitely not capitalist. Yeah.
You don't have to have quite such big ambitions in order to work with other Bitcoin SV businesses. Will Devine is integrating with a Bitcoin SV app called Run, and that's to help his gaming product, Game Cubed.
It's basically tic-tac-toe on a cube. It's a very simple interface. I invented it years ago, but I left it because I didn't think there was a way to monetize it. And now with Bitcoin SV, there seems to be a very clear, easy way to monetize it and secure it.
What are the prospects for this? How long is it going to take for you to bring this out there?
Well, I'm not quite sure. But I'm hoping that by the end of the week, I can get something to share out with the community as a minimal viable product.
So I'm going to be able to play this game by Friday.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to it very much. Over a beer on the last night, maybe.
Absolutely, or whiskey if I don't get it to work.
Okay, thanks.
Afasta de mim. Se alguém perguntar por mim, diz que fui por aí, levando um violão debaixo do braço.
Welcome back to Lisbon, to the CambrianSV Bootcamp. Well, today is the day when things got very technical, thanks to Steve Shadders of nChain. The developers really put him through his paces to try and explain things that were way above my head. But in the afternoon, there was a surprise, a very special guest that nobody had expected to see. So keep watching and you'll find out all about that.
Em qualquer esquina eu paro, em qualquer botequim.
After overseeing the recent Genesis upgrade to the Bitcoin SV protocol, Steve Shadders is on the road to encourage developers to make use of the new capabilities.
Last year what was really unlocked was data storage and data manipulation use cases. What's been unlocked in Genesis is the functional use cases of Bitcoin, and that primarily comes from restoring Bitcoin script and making it easy for people to use. Now people can actually start programming Bitcoin as opposed to just making use of its data storage capabilities.
You were actually suggesting that there will be new types of developer job specializing in different aspects of the ecosystem.
Absolutely. I mean, Bitcoin is a vast topic and it needs specialists. Generalists are great too, and many specialists begin as generalists, but new types of roles are opening up. The unlocking of Bitcoin script means that the idea of a specialist Bitcoin script engineer, whilst anyone could have been that before, there was not much point, because what were you going to do with it? You couldn't use it on the network. Now that role itself can start to emerge.
In the afternoon, there was a panel to discuss SPV, Simple Payment Verification.
So, my name's Ryan X. Charles. I'm the founder and CEO of MoneyButton.
There were only three
And
people on the
this panel is
platform.
about SPV.
A mysterious figure appeared just outside the venue.
Oh, and look who's entered the building.
The extra panelist was Dr. Craig Wright. His appearance was a well-kept secret by the organisers of the event, but much appreciated by the surprised audience.
Worth you giving an opinion.
Okay, so the first thing is, if you actually...
Craig didn't waste any time and got stuck into the debate without missing a beat.
Effectively, SPV is just a simple way of quickly verifying that the input transaction is real. Every other type of intellectual property in the past, like movies and things like that, have had the problem that you can copy them and there's no distribution of value. My creation of Bitcoin allowed you, with the register, to have a token that if you copy it has no value, because it doesn't matter. It's only when you actually transfer and register it.
It's not all work at a CambrianSV Bootcamp. Today there was time for a cultural outing down to Lisbon's waterfront. This is Belém Tower, a 16th century fortification at the mouth of the Tagus River. It was the embarkation point for many of Portugal's famous explorers as they set sail out into the Atlantic. Today, it's the perfect backdrop for a team photo. Just along from the tower is the Monument of the Discoveries, depicting many of Portugal's explorers, including Magellan, Vasco da Gama and Henry the Navigator. For Paul Martin, who suggested the outing, this was not just tourism, it was inspiration.
A lot of these figures, they took enormous risk. They stood on these exact steps, looking at these huge galleon ships off into that ocean, and did not have any idea whether they would ever return to come see their families ever again. The reality is, today we only know their narrative based off of how those stories have been told from one generation to the next. I don't know about you all, but one of the things that motivates me the most about Bitcoin is not just the fact that it incentivizes this sort of risk-taking to make the future a better place for our descendants, but the fact that now we have this anchor of truth. So when we tell these stories in the future, we'll know exactly what these people felt as long as you put it on chain. I'm sure many of you right now are looked at like pariahs. You've taken immense risk, career risk, reputational risk, financial risk to be here right now. You've kind of planted your flag, and that's why you're here today. I would love anyone that wants to share some about the risks that they've taken to come and share as well.
So Paul talked about taking risk. Some of you might know I quit my job like 3 months ago. I've been working in the same company 7 years since I graduated college. And it wasn't easy. I mean, I did it. It feels great now, but at the time, I mean, I thought it would be good once I did it, but actually doing it was very difficult. You know, having to tell my close coworkers, hey, you know, I'm gonna go work on this Bitcoin thing. Part of the reason was I felt like obligated. Like I need to put my talents towards this. And if I did it, you know, maybe, I don't know, I wouldn't feel comfortable kind of like riding the wave. Like I felt like I need to be out on the front lines helping out.
Imagine being the guy to go around the tip of South Africa and circumnavigate the world. Or the guy that took Florida for Spain. These opportunities exist in Bitcoin SV right now. The massive land grabs that we can make right now, you can't be making in any other place in technology. So if you're a builder and you're looking for a new hobby, you can grab Florida for your children and make a name for yourself. Thank you.
So the Bitcoin land grab is on. Who's going to claim the Florida of blockchain? We've all got a pretty good idea how ordinary businesses work. This one, for instance, they buy food, sell at a profit, and maybe try to expand the business by opening new stores around Lisbon. Well, business has been the subject at CambrianSV today, and whether Bitcoin businesses may operate in a completely different way.
All right, hello everyone here in Lisbon. At Twetch, we're in the business of building cool shit. Today I'm announcing Twetch SDK officially. I know some of you in the room.
Twetch's SDK, or Software Development Kit, will allow anyone to profit from the startup's social media community by setting up their own specialist site.
For instance, if you wanted to remove all talk that wasn't about sports on Twetch, you know, you just want the NBA, NFL, FIFA, headlines or information or people posting about those things. You could make a site that only shows that kind of content. Just like you could also make a site that only shows content that is media, whether it's videos or photos. So you could have something that looks a lot like Instagram, but it's Twitch, has the same interface and everything, but it just won't show text posts.
So if I set something like that up, will I get some revenue from it?
Yeah, right now we're offering a revenue share of 10%. That's a limited time thing as we kind of test this market and see how it's working out. So I'd really like to see how people get coding and what they can build using the Twitch SDK.
When it comes to the question of how is building a business on Bitcoin different, it's not just different versus the 1900s or the Silicon Valley. There's also different versus building on Ethereum or building on BTC. So,
as well as organising CambrianSV and chairing its business panel, this week Jack Liu opened his own investment fund for Bitcoin SV businesses.
I'm launching a fund that's being entirely funded by myself to start, which will invest in Bitcoin companies who are making on-chain applications. And the entire returns of the fund will be a revenue share with those businesses from the output. And so that's why we launched a fund called Output Capital.
And so what are the principles that are different between that and a normal venture fund?
The normal venture fund waits for a company to scale over many multiple rounds and have one single large exit, whether that comes in the form of acquisition or IPO. However, in Bitcoin, you can be exiting every single second. In a transaction, the payout can be multiple parties. So for example, if I was to send funds to you, Charles, and the wallet I'm using helped me conduct that transfer, that wallet could be extracting a very small amount of BSVs in the form of Satoshis, and that could be distributed real time to the founders, the team, and to the investor. And we'll take our royalties that way.
Some in the Bitcoin world are skeptical about venture capital altogether for their kind of startups.
I don't think that traditional venture capital has any role in the sector. I think that it's kind of a misnomer, and I think people are going through the motions of a traditional Silicon Valley startup where they hear they need venture capital, so they seek venture capital. And I think VCs know that and have been taking advantage of that for decades, and I think that ends now.
If Bitcoin businesses don't want venture capitalists, it may also be that they won't like what they see when they take a closer look at Bitcoin businesses. Just explain to me why you think Bitcoin businesses are vulnerable compared to other businesses.
The reason it's vulnerable is, first of all, for Bitcoin to grow and become more secure, miners need to get paid. For that to happen, transactions must be happening on-chain. However, when you put transactions on-chain, that data can be interoperable with any other service provider. And if you didn't make it that way, it's not really that attractive. So the whole appeal of Bitcoin for the user, for everyone involved, is that you can own your own data. Therefore, a business who is building on-chain essentially is making it easier for every other business to continue whatever they've built.
We'll see exponential growth, but you'll see it from tiny teams. And those tiny teams will be able to scale massively because they don't have to worry about the same kinds of costs and problems that a traditional company has to worry about on the traditional internet.
Hey everyone, can I get your attention? We've come to the end of Cambrian, and it's a sad but exciting moment because we're about to start with the presentations of what you guys have all been doing.
Founder Jack Liu calls for order on the final day of the CambrianSV Bootcamp in Lisbon. The developer teams have been working on their projects all week, and now it's time to show the group what they have achieved.
A lot of people have this mindset that Bitcoin is associated with fraud and irreversible transactions. So as a buyer, you don't really want to spend Bitcoin because you don't have the security. So we built BitMav, a simple yet powerful platform for Bitcoin escrow transactions.
We also have a whole tokenized weapon system as well. And throughout time, they've got a full provenance of slaying this dragon in 2020 or winning 1,000 tournaments. So all those live immutably with the life cycle of your weapons and armor.
We said, you know what? This entire e-commerce integration experience is where we want to go. We want to take this platform and open it up for others to import it and begin to maneuver it in their systems. This was already built. We had to build it for ourselves, and now we just need to make it more accessible.
You just registered on the site. I've used the Money Button's decryption scheme. gone through their pay mail, encrypted data just for you, so only you can log in with your account. You got your name and you're playing, and Game 3's just started making money.
So Jimmy, he's going to scan the image. So what we did was we just set up a CambrianSV product in the ERP system.
The theme of the bootcamp was achieving efficiency through working together. Joshua Hensley of the Bitcoin Association demonstrated that by integrating Jimmy Odom's image recognition software Bitboard with the advertising platform Tonic Pow.
I just got paid the 10 cents for the commission of that order that Jimmy placed through that image. I didn't really have to need much from Jimmy at all to do this. I could just take it and run with it. Same thing with Tonic Pow. I could just look at their docs. Austin helped me, but I was able to just run through it. So I think with the benefit of this is because this stuff is on chain, it just lets us go take it and run with it. We don't have to like suck up other people's time in order to build this stuff out. So that's it, and hope that demonstrated some value.
As well as being demo day, this was also the day the group was saying goodbye to each other. It was time to reflect on the whole week of meeting and working together.
I think this week has been very productive. People are kind of very, very excited to meet each other, finally got to work and learn from people who they might have met online and chat groups but never met in person.
Grateful to all of you for sharing all of these experiences and knowledge and information with us. It's just been tremendous.
I have a tremendous amount of respect for all of you, the work you've done, and getting to know you as people and understand more about how you think about the world, the sorts of values that you guys hold.
These guys are experts in technology. They proved that this week by all the new apps they've built since they arrived in Lisbon on Sunday. But what's been said this afternoon shows that they see technology as part of something much bigger, something more human, something more important, really.
Life is not about technology. Life is about higher things. And I think the beauty of this technology that we're working on is that it's illuminating those higher things for us. Try to think about more than just businesses. Try to think about those higher things. So thank you all. You're all beautiful. Thank you.